Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm back with my makeup collection part 2 video. I have already done my full face of makeup inventory video, and in this one we'll be covering eyeshadows. I finished so many eyeshadows this year. Most of them already had a lot of progress from previous year's usage, and that's the reason I was able to go through them. And some of those eyeshadows I kind of used up as face products. So yeah, that's the another reason that I finished around 34 or 35 eyeshadows in this single year alone. But again, I had been working on them for so many previous years. And before we get into all of this, if you are new here, please consider subscribing to my channel. My name is Rafneet and I make a lot of panning videos. Now let's start with our singles. So I have 3 single eyeshadows from AOA Studio. I got both of these eyeshadows, like on the bottom ones, just for frankening purposes. For example, if I were making a blush or a bronzer and I needed to lighten it up, I can always use this white eyeshadow and this one for maybe lightening up my shimmer eyeshadows. But I did not end up doing that, and I used this white eyeshadow as a transition sort of shade, and it works really great for that. And I also got this green eyeshadow for frankening purposes as well, but I discovered that it also blends really well, and I do use it with my greens to kind of blend them. So this is in the shade called Exotic. The matte white is in the shade called Starlit, and white shimmer is called Ice Queen. I just applied my nail paint, so yeah, it's all over my fingers. So now let's move on to the next single eyeshadows that I have. I forgot to mention that I have a backup of this white eyeshadow, but I'm not counting it in my total numbers because it's a backup and it's the same shade. And then I have a single eyeshadow from Natasha Denona. It's from their Glam eyeshadow palette, and the shade is Outer Lid 321M. This is a nice shimmer shade. It has very subtle sparkles. It's nice, but nothing to write home about. Next shade is also from Natasha Denona. It's from their Zendo palette and it's called Sense. This is again a nice satiny sort of subtle shimmer shade. I tend to reach for more sparkly eyeshadows, so yeah, I don't reach for this one a lot. And last Natasha Denona eyeshadow is from Retro palette. This is in the shade called Helio, and I have a pan on this eyeshadow. This got rolled into my pan those eyeshadows I guess last year, and that's how I have pan. And these eyeshadows are also 0.4 grams, so there's not a ton of product in here. I have a backup of this one as well. Next two eyeshadows are the multi-chromes that I have. So they are from the brand called Mars, and it's from their Northern Lights in a Pan collection. This one is called Finland Flash. You can see how shifty this one is, and I like it, but unfortunately they don't stick well without a glitter glue. I mean, they still stick on the eyeshadows, but they are really easy to dust off. But yeah, they don't stick super well to the eyes without any sort of base or glue. You can literally just dust them off from a bare skin. But yeah, it's really nice. I like the shift in these eyeshadows. So yeah, that's Finland Flash for you. Next one is called Norwegian Nights. This is light green to a teal to indigo sort of eyeshadow, and it doesn't look as transformative on the eyes. I mean, it doesn't transform as much on the eyes while applied, but yeah, nonetheless, it's a nice shade. These ones also only have 0.5 grams of product. So I finished all of the tinier palettes that I had, and this is the only 6-pan palette that I have right now. It's from Flower Beauty and it's their infamous Jungle Lights palette. It was very popular, and for all the good reasons. These shimmers are so impactful. I just love them. And these two darker ones, they transform very deep on the eyes. I don't mind it because I tend to reach for darker shimmer eyeshadows to blend my eyelid shade into my outer corners. So I really like it for that purpose. And next palette I have is from Rare Beauty. It's their True to Myself eyeshadow palette, and this is how mine looks like. So I hit a huge pan on this glitter eyeshadow. However, I haven't seen any sort of glitter warning. I did use it on my eyes, but I didn't like it that much because it kind of falls everywhere. but I love rest of the eyeshadows. So this palette is something that I did not really initially like because I was more into more impactful eyeshadows, but this has grown on me. These shimmers are beautiful and these mattes are super blendable. I really like them. However, this is not as deep as it looks in the pan, but again, it's super blendable and I think it's gonna be a great travel palette for me. You can see how much I used this eyeshadow, and I hit pan on this one in my Pando's eyeshadows, and this is the organic hues. I've used it a lot. Overall, I really like this palette. I think it's a great palette for makeup beginners or eyeshadow beginners. You can't really mess these ones up. And now let's move on to the 9 pan palettes. I have quite a bunch of them. The first one is from My Glam. This one is called Enchanted, I think, and that's how mine looks like. I like this palette a lot. This is again that I did not gravitated towards initially, but the more I used it, I realized how versatile it is, and I hit most pans in here in my Pando's eyeshadows project. This one I hit in my deco panning. But yeah, this only has 3 eyeshadows that don't have any pan. These pans look super tiny, but there's 1 gram of eyeshadow in each of them. These are super deep, but nonetheless, this is a good and pretty palette. You can kind of create different looks. You can mix and match. This is a nice holographic sort of topper shade. Overall, I really like it. I think it's a great travel palette as well. And then comes my ColourPop Mandalorian the Child palette. This looks so much different than last year because I finished this eyeshadow called Precious Cargo. I was focusing on this one. This was a super shock sort of formula and I ended up using it up because it had started to dry out, and then I hit so many other pans and it is looking so well loved. It deserves to be loved. It is such a nice palette and it only has 2 eyeshadows that don't have any pan in them. Honestly, I don't think there's any dud in here. This eyeshadow called The Force, however, is super impactful. It took me more than 40 uses to hit pan on it, but nonetheless we got there. And this is our next 9 pan palette. And then I have 3 9 pan palettes from BH Cosmetics. First one of them is called Sub-Zero. I think this was one of their Halloween collection if I recall properly, but that's how mine looks like, and I got all of these pans in my Pando's eyeshadows project. These eyeshadows are so shimmery, so sparkly. I just love them, and the mattes are super blendable as well. I mean, it's so hard to formulate blue eyeshadows without getting them patchier. These ones are so smooth, they blend like butter. I'm not even joking. And these shimmers are so impactful. I really miss that brand because they do know how to make good eyeshadows. And next one is again from BH Cosmetics. It's called Do Not Disturb. I love the color story in here. It's so versatile. I mean, everything in here goes with everything. You can pair this kind of shade with blue. You can pair this sort of fuchsia shade with blues because this has a lot of blue undertone. This has brown undertone, although it looks kind of blue in the pan. And this is more of the holographic or topper, I'd say. It's not holographic, it's more of the topper. But yeah, you can take so many directions with this one. If you just want to stick with burgundy or neutral side, or relatively neutral, I'd say, you can just pair these 3 eyeshadows. So yeah, there is so much versatility in here. I got 1 pan in here in my Pando's eyeshadows, and I hit 2 pans in this palette in my project Level Up last year. Next one is called Optimistic AF. It's again from BH Cosmetics. They sort of open in opposite direction, but yeah, that's how this one looks like. I hit pan on all 3 of these eyeshadows in Pando's eyeshadows project. I hit pan on this one last year, and on these 2 eyeshadows I hit pan this year. This took forever to hit pan on because it's so pigmented. I didn't need a lot of it, and I don't tend to put red as a prominent color in my eye looks. So yeah, it took me, I guess, more than 30 uses to hit pan on, but I love the formula. This is a really nice, clever palette. I also tried using this one as blush and it looked beautiful. I think this is a great palette for summer. This one also has a burgundy and a red, which I know a lot of people like, but not me. I mean, I don't mind them. I just don't gravitate towards dark reds and burgundies in general, and dark pinks as well. I'm not super fan of those kind of eyeshadows, but I can still use them. So I have 5 9 pan palettes, and then I have a 12 pan palette. This is my Urban Decay Stoned Vibes palette. This palette is something that got a lot of love from me this year. I mean, you can see I have so many pans in here. This one got rolled in as a level 4 palette in my project level up, which means I had to hit 4 pans, and then a few of these eyeshadows got rolled into my Pando's eyeshadows, and that's how I got so many pans in here. I only have 2 eyeshadows that don't have any pan. This is a palette that I really adore. I mean, I'm super blown away by the mattes in here. They have such a great formula. I'm really glad that I have it. Although some of these shimmers are less impactful than others and they require a lot of building up, but still I don't mind. They give beautiful results on the eyes. They don't crease on me, which is really crucial because some of the shimmers or the creamy sort of shimmers from other brands, ABH I'm talking about you, yeah, they crease on me. So yeah, I'm really glad with Urban Decay's formula, at least on this one. I haven't tried any of their other eyeshadows. Then I have these 3 14 pan palettes. Let's take a look at Jackie Aina palette first. I have a lot of progress on this one, and this is the eyeshadow I was talking about. It creases on me if I don't apply it over a glitter glow. I mean, these eyeshadows kind of look a bit funky because they have some sort of shimmer particles on top, but I was sanitizing it the other day, so the way I do it is that I take 99% isopropyl alcohol and I just spray the palettes because 99% alcohol evaporates super fast and also kills bacteria and other germs. But I have so much use on the shimmers, and I have used these mattes as well, but they don't show a lot of progress because these ones are really pigmented. I don't need a lot of them, but again, I have the usage throughout these pans because if I'm not focusing on any eyeshadow to hit pan on, I don't tend to focus on the same spot. I try to like spread my usage throughout the pan. Also, I don't like wearing red shimmers either. If I wear it, I kind of layer some sort of lighter shimmer on top. Then I have Subculture. This palette also got a lot of love from me this year. I hit 5 pans in here. I hit 5 pans on this palette in Project Level Up, and then I hit 1 pan in Pando's eyeshadows. I hit pan on Adorn in Deck of Panning. As you can see, Adorn and Electric have rust on them. This is something that I wanted to work on in 2024, but I'm not ready to depart with this palette yet. But definitely I want to work on these rusty shades because I would hate these shades to go bad on me. I can use up Adorn and Electric fairly quickly, I guess, because there is already a ton of progress, and I also have to build them up. These are the shades that tend to crease on me again if I don't apply them properly over a glitter glow. Roxy is such a nice shade. I think it's also going to pair well with my Jackie Aina palette to blend out those darker tones in there. So as Dawn and Destiny is a unique shade, I would not mind getting this out of my collection. I don't have pan on Axis, Untamed, or Fudge yet. I think I will try to hit pan on all eyeshadows in here in the upcoming year. And last 14 pan palette I have is Norvina palette from ABH again. Oh no, my nail paint got transferred here. That's what my palette looks like. This is a newer palette in my collection. I mean, I have it for a few years, but it's definitely newer than the other ABH palettes that I have. And Dreamer has rust on, and also on Eccentric I can see those tiny rust particles, which is such a shame because this is a newer palette. I think ABH in general have rust issues. But yeah, this year I hit pan on Eccentric and Soul. And then I have these two 16 pan palettes. I have so much progress on BH Cosmetics Lost in Los Angeles, and I hit 2 pans in this palette in my project Level Up. I think I hit pan on Rodeo Drive and Starstruck. All of the other pans are from last year. This is such a nice palette, again has great BH Cosmetics quality, mattes blend super well, shimmers are so nice and impactful. I really enjoy this palette. And then I have this Odensai and Anelka Nyquist collaboration palette. This one got rolled into my pan those eyeshadows over and over, and I hit so many new pans in here, although some of these eyeshadows took me such a long time to hit pan on, but nonetheless we did it, and I have pan on 7 eyeshadows in here now, which is crazy. I love this eyeshadow. This is the newest pan in this palette. I think I really like tones of these eyeshadows in general. This one is really good. This is what I'm talking about. I really don't tend to reach for these darker pink eyeshadows. However, I really like lighter pastel pinks. But I managed to hit pan on this one somehow. I was mixing it with blues in my Pandos palettes and kind of making a purple shade to wear on my eyes. But again, I do enjoy this palette a lot. And I have this 18 pan palette. I mean, there are not enough eyeshadows in here anymore because I've been slowly working towards finishing eyeshadows in here. This is how it looks like now, and I ended up finishing this eyeshadow, this one, and this one. I finished both of these eyeshadows mostly as blushes, and this is not done yet. I used all of the product in here to make a blush, and it lives in another face powder sort of container. I made both of these eyeshadows and I have a video up on how I did it. This is one of my favorite shade now, and I'm not even joking about it. It's such a pretty purple shade. I love wearing it on my eyelids. This is a great shade as well. I wanted a shade like this, so it has this one and an eyeshadow from Morphe palette. This one also had an eyeshadow from Morphe palette mixed into the Destiny shade that lived here. However, it doesn't look as light on the eyes. It kind of pulls more darker, you can see, but nonetheless, it's a beautiful shade. This eyeshadow didn't have pan. I hit pan here. Now everything in here has pan in them, and I tend to reach for some of these eyeshadows pretty often for some sort of accent color. Moving on to the last eyeshadow palette. It's from Morphe. It's 350 Supernatural Glow palette. And that's how mine looks like. So I ended up finishing, I guess, 2 more eyeshadows here. Or maybe 1. I don't quite remember. But yeah, all of these eyeshadows are gone. I mostly use them up as face products. This is the eyeshadow that I mixed with that Destiny shade to make a beautiful purple one, because this has a tiny shift and it's so beautiful. And in that orange shade, or I'd say in order to make that orange shade, I used Otherworldly and I mixed it with that red shade that already exists in that palette. And the other eyeshadow that I am using as a blush that I was talking about, I mixed this eyeshadow and a little bit of this one to kind of lighten it up a little bit and to make it a little bit more glowy. But yeah, overall this is the palette, and I tried to use each eyeshadow in here at least once this year, which I was able to achieve because some of these eyeshadows are very similar to each other. So yeah, I was able to kind of use them in the same look. I hit pan on these 2 eyeshadows in Pan Those Eyeshadows and this one in Deco Panning. I was hoping I can fit all of the eyeshadows in a frame, but that's not possible. But yeah, that's all I have for today's video. Those are all the eyeshadows I currently own. So I hope I'll be able to hit more pans and we'll be able to finish more eyeshadows in the upcoming year. And that's all I have for today's video. Thank you so much for sticking with me until the end. I hope you have a wonderful day or night, depending on when you're watching my video, wherever in the world you are. I will see you in my next one. Until then, take care. Bye.